Hello, it's Sako. Welcome to the show. I'm going to tell you right now how to avoid the planning fallacy. How to prevent yourself from being biased on how much time it's going to take you to achieve your goals, and how to reduce the risks of unplanned time and costs. How much it's going to cost you to achieve your goals, because most of the time we are biased without even realizing it. I was biased without realizing it, and I learned this right now with the book of Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow. And no matter where you are in your entrepreneurial journey, this is going to be extremely useful and it's going to save you a lot of money. And most importantly, it's going to allow you to not have like big surprises and big costs, or make you do like it's going to prevent you to make very bad decisions. Forgive my English. I'm not a native English speaker, but this episode is going to be pretty good, especially if you're an entrepreneur, especially if you're an ambitious entrepreneur. Because if you're new here, welcome. My name is Ivaldi Sako. I help ambitious entrepreneur I help them build a great empire and live their best life. We talk business, mindset, self-improvement, and human psychology, which is today's subject. It's going to be very useful to you if you are an entrepreneur and you want to make better decisions and you want to not risk big things you want to prevent yourself from making bad decisions and being able to make the right decisions without your optimistic bias, because most of us are optimistically biased, and it's going to be very useful. So let's get into it. If you enjoy the show, by the way, subscribe, because if you're an entrepreneur, it's going to serve you a lot. So I learned about the planning fallacy, and I was confronted with it because I needed to find the right team to hire, and I was supposed to do so in about a week. It's the first time for me to hire like a lot of people, right? And I just didn't hire anyone, like no one, because I had the bias in my mind. I thought it was going to take some amount of time, and actually, it's not just like this week. I thought another project was going to take some amount of time on my business, and I noticed when I applied what I'm going to talk to you about that it's going to take about 4 times as much time as I expected. So I was lucky to stumble upon the planning fallacy and this book at the same time. Like, it's very funny. Every time I have a struggle in my business, I happen to be reading the exact book that I need. And I don't plan for it. This is just a general book on psychology. And I happen to be on the right section of it at the right time. I'm a lucky guy. And I'm going to make you lucky too. So I'm going to read to you some passages from the book, and I'm going to tell you some notes that I took on it and how you can basically apply it in your business to make better decisions. You're going to ask yourself, okay, how can I use this, right? All along this video, just ask yourself, or this podcast, this audio, ask yourself, okay, how can I take this and implement it to make better decisions? How can I not be fooled by this bias? So, the outside view. The way the author realized this concept of outside view was when he and his colleagues were working on a big textbook project. And so, here's a quote from the book. I then asked whether he knew the history of these teams in some detail, and it turned out that he was familiar with several. I asked him to think of these teams when they had made as much progress as we had. How long from that point did it take them to finish their textbook project, their textbook project? And he's talking to a guy in his team that is an absolute expert, right? He knows his subject, he knows everything about it, and before asking this question, every member of the team had made a guess, right? A hypothesis on how much time it's going to take them. Everybody said between 1 and 2 years, right? And when he asked this question to his friend, the expert, he said, I cannot think of any group that finished in less than 7 years. And they all made predictions that they will be done in 2 years, max. And he said this, until I prompted him, there was no connection in his mind between his knowledge of the history of other teams and his forecasts of the future. And they couldn't, like, he did have the knowledge, but he didn't use it to plan how much time it's going to take him and his friends to actually achieve their goals. It's every time, like, when you think you are going to do something, you think it's going to take a lot less time than it actually is going to. Why? Because you think in the inside view. You see, okay, your skills, your progress that you've made so far, but you don't see the outside view. The view that, okay, can see maybe, oh, there's this thing that you didn't plan, first of all. There's a lot of things that are going to happen that you didn't plan. And everybody that tries to do what you're trying to do takes a lot more time. So it's very unlikely that you are so much better than them that you can do it in your time frame. And yeah, they were drawn to the inside view. And so the planning fallacy is this. It describes plans and forecasts that are unrealistically close to best case scenarios, could be improved by consulting the statistics of similar cases. So you see, okay, what are people in my, what are competitors of mine, how much time it takes them to get this done, right? With kind of similar resources than me. All right, it takes them 5 years. What makes me think I can do this in 1 year? And here's some examples of the planning fallacy. Planning fallacy abound in the experiences of individuals, governments, and businesses. The list of horror stories is endless. And here's an example. In July 1997, the proposed Scottish Parliament building in Edinburgh was estimated to cost up to £40 million. By June 1999, the budget for the building was £109 million. In April 2000, legislators imposed a £195 million cap on costs. By November 2001, they demanded an estimate of final cost, which was set at £241 million. That estimated final cost, rose twice in 2002, ending the year at £294 million. It rose 3 times more in 2003, reaching £375 million by June. And the building was finally completed in 2004 at an ultimate cost of roughly £431 million. If that's not depressing, I don't know what is. Like, this is not cool, not good news, right? Just imagine your cost 10xing. Multiply your cost by 10 times, and whoa, that's a lot. Imagine the time frame that you think you're going to succeed in. You're going to achieve a certain goal, a certain milestone. You think it's going to be 1 year, it's going to be 10. How depressing is this, right? So you will clearly not have the time to do everything that you want to do in your life. But that's only if you fall for the planning fallacy. There is a solution. And I was depressed up until I saw the solution. And there is a solution. I tried to apply it, and I'm going to tell you about it right now. Mitigating the planning fallacy. The forecasting method that Feidberg, I think this is what the guy is called, he applies this method to overcome base rate neglect. Basically, there's a base rate in certain categories that oftentimes we don't think about. There are like general probabilities about this kind of achievement. What are the like general probabilities and general time frames, right? This is the base rate. Well, we neglect them. We don't consider them because we think we are better. We think like our circumstances don't apply. We think we are special, right? And so to mitigate that, we must use these 3 steps. 1, identify an appropriate reference class. He gives the examples of kitchen renovations, large railway projects, etc., right? Or building a certain system. Whatever thing you want to do in your business, this could be it. This could be like, okay, building a sales team. How much time it usually takes them? It's pretty difficult to find those base rates. So what I personally did is, well, still using like, it's still like getting in the inside view, but using it more with more precision and with a little less bias, because sometimes you don't have access to these kind of data. Like sometimes data doesn't exist for your precise situation, and so you can basically take a reference. Well, step 2, first of all, let me tell you about the 3 steps of it. 1, identify an appropriate reference class. 2, obtain the statistics of the reference class. And this is in terms of cost per mile of railway or the percentage by which expenditures exceeded budget. So for example, sometimes you want to renovate a kitchen, it's supposed to cost $15,000, it ends up costing $40,000. And that's because you neglect base rates. And 3, use specific information about your case, right, to adjust the baseline prediction. If there are particular reasons to expect the optimistic bias to be more or less pronounced in this project than in others of the same type. And so what I did was, instead of like, I knew I'm pretty confident, even though it's not the most useful, it's not the best thing to do, but I think it's still better than not doing anything at all. You list the big projects to achieve your milestone, right? For example, to get to $1 million, you need to create this system and this outbound and this delivery system, and like multiple big projects, right, in your business. What I did was list those projects, and in them I know other like smaller big projects, big chunks of things to do, right? And so these things, based on, because I personally have a lot of data on how much I can produce in a day, I have a lot of data on an Excel sheet, right? I know exactly what I did, like for like months, maybe a year right now. I've been writing everything down on an Excel sheet, so I know at which pace I can go, I can progress. And so I know which, like each of these smaller projects, how much time it's going to take. The thing is that before, I thought, okay, for this big milestone, it's going to take me 2 months, right? Except I didn't list everything down. Now I listed everything down, and I assigned a certain time frame to each of these things, trying to be realistic without, like, based on like how fast I work or how slow I work, how much time is going to take me to do this one smaller thing. And so I put, okay, this is going to be about 3 days. It's going to be about 1 day. It's going to be about like 1 or 2 weeks. And this definitely like has to be happening in 30 days. And so I listed down everything, and turns out it's going to, like, something that I thought it was going to take me like 1 month, it's going to take me 5 months. 4 to 5 months. So this is just by listing down the more precise things. And when you add them all up, you end up with a more realistic time frame. Now this could still be a bias because you're taking information on the inside view, right? Sometimes, unfortunately, this is all you have, right? You can't You don't have necessarily like the outside view. And this is why having mentors and coaches and having someone that getting courses, getting knowledge and data, talking to people outside literally of your case can be helpful, because you can get data, right? You can, okay, this is going to take this much, right? Because people that have gone through the same things can tell you. You can't. You just like in the midst of things. You don't know this. Anyway, decisions and errors. The planning fallacy. The problem is that they make decisions based on delusional optimism. This is what we do. Delusional optimism, rather than on rational possibility of gains, losses, and probabilities. They overestimate benefits and underestimate costs. They spend hours on success while overlooking the potential for mistakes and miscalculations. As a result, they pursue initiatives that are unlikely to come in on budget or on time or to deliver the expected returns or even to be completed. There were a lot of people in the textbook project of the author that didn't complete the project at all. Like it took too much time and they ended up just giving up on the project because it just was way more than they expected to work on. And this is because they fail a test. We fail a test. We fail a test to prevent to fail to plan accurately. You must make a reasonable baseline prediction when starting, because this is much easier to do when you're starting up a project, right? If you are in the midst of things, you have already made progress, you are first of all going to be trying to, what is it called? You will have the bias of the sunk cost, right? The sunk cost fallacy. I don't know if it's how it's called. Sunk cost. Yeah, the sunk cost fallacy. And so because you did something before, because you already put so much on the line, you don't want to lose. You don't want to give up, because you already did that. So I'm going to still keep losing. I'm still going to make the wrong choice just because I did put too much on the line to lose. And so we fail a test. And this is what the author says. For his situation, when he realized that, oh my God, it's going to take us 7 years. We didn't plan for that. We thought it was going to be max 2 years, additionally to the 2 years that we are already in progress. And he said this: the outside view was much easier to ignore than bad news in our own effort. I can best describe our state as a form of lethargy and unwillingness to think about what had happened. So we carried on. There was no further attempt at rational planning for the rest of the time I spent as a member of the team. So even though everyone knew, they still kept going, and they didn't pay attention to the new information that came. All right, the expert realized, oh my God, no one has done this in 2 years, and everyone that I know who was, by the way, he said, a little better than us. They were a little better than us with more resources and more experienced people in their teams. And it took them 7 years. And guess what? At the end, it took them 8 years to complete the project, the textbook project. And so this is to say that it's better to plan this before you start, because when you start and you realize this, it's going to be hard to stop and make a decision, an unbiased decision, based on the new information that you have at hand. And so at the end of the chapters in the book, the author uses quotes and sentences to explain to you the most important learnings of a certain chapter. And it's a little paragraph called "Speaking of the outside view," and I'm going to read to you the speaking of. By the way, I'm going to read it to you from the book. It's easier this way. Let me find this. Okay, speaking of the outside view. He's taking an inside view. He should forget about his own case and look for what happened in other cases. She is the victim of a planning fallacy. She's assuming a best case scenario, but there are too many different ways for the plan to fail, and she cannot foresee them all. Suppose you did not know a thing about this particular legal case, only that it involves a malpractice claim by an individual against a surgeon. What would be your baseline prediction? How many of these cases succeed in court? How many settle? What are the amounts? In the case we are discussing, stronger or weaker than similar claims? We are making an additional investment because we do not want to admit failure. This is an instance of the sunk cost fallacy. And so this is important to become aware of. Once you are aware of it, you can change it. You can see, okay, this is what I think based on my optimism. By the way, we're going to get to the second chapter, which is called The Engine of Capitalism. This is actually the 23rd and 24th chapter of Thinking Fast and Slow, if you want to know exactly which chapters they are. And it's called The Engine of Capitalism. But, yeah, and I'm going to give you the answer straight away. The engine of capitalism is optimist. It's us, entrepreneurs, that are optimistic, way too optimistic about what we can do and how we can beat the odds. Now, I do think we can, and a lot of people can, because this is how the economy works. This is how innovation is created. But at the same time, if you can put the odds in your favor, it's like, why not? Entrepreneurial delusion. The chances that a small business will survive for 5 years in the United States are about 35%. But the individuals who open such businesses do not believe that the statistics apply to them. I do not believe that the statistics apply to me. I realize that, oh my God, this is me. Oh no. Why me? This is the reason why I found this so useful, because the author was literally talking about me. I think I'm going to make way more money than anyone else, and way shorter amount of time. And when I realized my planning fallacy, my mistake in planning, it was kind of bothering. I was like, oh, come on. But I did not accept it. And I'm going to tell you at the end how I plan to just put the odds in my favor. However much I can increase them, I'm going to make sure I can increase them as much as possible, and I'm going to do the things that are going to allow me to actually increase them as much as possible. One of the benefits of an optimistic temperament is that it encourages persistence in the face of obstacles. But persistence can be costly. So this is why you need to know when to stop, when to reduce costs, and this is why also it's very useful to be frugal, not a big spender, just reduce your expenses as much as possible, especially when you're starting up in business, because when you if you start having a big cost, for example, if you open a shop, a physical location, and it costs you $1,000 a month to run, just basic things without even trying to get clients. For example, let's say you're going to find a way to get clients with no money, and you plan that this is going to be you're going to be successful with this physical shop in a year, but you didn't plan for everything because you just don't have the knowledge for everything, and a lot of things can happen. A lot of random things can happen, and it's going to take you 2 months later for this reason, and 3 months because you didn't expect that to happen, and oh my God, this happened. There's this big problem. This guy is suing us, and it's going to take you 2 years to even break even. So instead of having if you pay $1,000 a month for this location for 1 year, it's not going to be $12,000. It's going to be $24,000. So that's a lot more money than you expected it to be. And in those 24 months, there's even more uncertainty that unfolds. So it's just, you need to be prepared and make sure you just like don't have much cost. And sometimes you think, okay, this little subscription here and there it's not a big problem, but you don't know how much time it's going to, like, how much time are you going to be subscribed to this service without getting results? You don't know. And so it could be very costly when you think it's not a major problem. And there's also another problem, and it's competition neglect. Cognitive biases play an important role, notably in the System 1 feature, what you see is all there is. So basically, in the book, the author talks about the two systems that run our brain. There's System 1, which is emotional and makes decisions very quickly and gather information and just send them to be processed in System 2. But System 2 is pretty lazy. You just like, if you can just not make decisions, not think too hard, he's not going to do much, right? And the System 1 feature, what you see is all there is basically what you see is all there is. It's called WYSIATI. What you see is all there is. And it's because all the information that you have at your disposal is all the information that there is in reality, in your reality, right? Not the information that you don't know, you just don't know. So it doesn't exist to you. And so this is a problem because there's other information that you don't see that exists. But there's this bias of, if you don't see something, it doesn't exist. And the problem with competition neglect is that we focus on our goal, we anchor on our plan, and neglect relevant base rates, exposing ourselves to the planning fallacy. We focus on what we want to do and can do, neglecting the plans and skills of others. Like the competition. Both in explaining the past and in predicting the future, we focus on the causal role of skill and neglect the role of luck. We are therefore prone to an illusion of control. We focus on what we know and neglect what we don't know, which makes us overly confident in our beliefs. And this is a big problem because it leads to overconfidence. And overconfidence is something that society is just like, this is the fuel of society is just overconfidence, because experts are basically paid to just be confident. Like, if an expert is not confident, this is what it tells you in the book, but I'm going to read to you the passage. Experts who acknowledge the full extent of their ignorance may expect to be replaced by more confident competitors who are better able to gain the trust of clients. An unbiased appreciation of uncertainty is a cornerstone of rationality, but it is not what people and organizations want. Extreme uncertainty is paralyzing under dangerous circumstances, and the admission that one is merely guessing is especially unacceptable when the stakes are high. Acting on pretended knowledge is often the preferred solution. If you went to the doctor and he gave you a medication and you ask him, "Oh, this is going to work," he says, "Well, I don't know, but it could work. I don't know. I'm not sure, but it could." How trustworthy is this? It doesn't seem too trustworthy. You pay experts just because they're confident, basically, and they have to be. This is their job, because if they don't give you this confidence, what they do is give you uncertainty, and uncertainty is extremely painful. It just it scares people, so you don't want that, and so the market rewards just what people want. And so if you don't try to be this confident person, even though you shouldn't be that confident, you're going to be replaced in the marketplace. That's just too bad. And the effect. And so this is why the society it just fuels overconfidence, and this is what we see always in politics and everything. People predict the future and they are sure, And this is just because they can create a story in their mind of how this can happen, and with the precision and with the imagery of this story, it gives confidence. It's not about quantitative facts that makes the probability higher. It's about how you feel more confident if you can see the image of how this could happen easily. And this is called cognitive ease in the book. The ease at which you can think of something happening makes it for you more probable than if you have many facts, but you don't have this ease of coming up with them. Anyway, this was just a side note to help you see, how confident you could be in certain things when, in fact, it's just a story that you can tell yourself, you can really imagine well. And this has to do with the premortem, which is a partial remedy. Before that, I wanted to tell you about the effects. The effects of high optimism on decision making are at best a mixed blessing, but the contribution of optimism to good implementation is certainly positive. The main benefit of optimism is resilience in the face of setbacks. This is why I think it's just like, what are you going to do? Are you going to be a realist just because the facts are not in your favor? To me, I think we can do what we can to improve the odds and try anyway, because like what are you going to do? Like if you've chosen to become an entrepreneur, this is because this is kind of a must to you to be free, to achieve something big, and to help make the world a better place. If you're not going to be optimistic about your chances of going there, what are you doing? You have to. It comes with the territory. But you can still have some kind of remedy to improve your odds of succeeding by seeing what you don't see. And this is the premortem, a partial remedy. This is what the author says. Can overconfident optimism be overcome by training? I am not optimistic. The main obstacle is that subjective confidence is determined by the coherence, this is what I forgot earlier, the coherence of the story one has constructed, not by the quality and amount of the information that supports it. The premortem procedure is simple. When the organization has almost come to an important decision but has not formally committed itself, Klein proposes gathering for a brief session a group of individuals who are knowledgeable about the decision, and the premise of the session is a short speech. Imagine that we are a year into the future. We implemented the plan as it now exists. The outcome was disaster. Please take 5 to 10 minutes to write a brief history of that disaster. And this is just very useful, because if you can write down what could go wrong and the story of how this could unfold, right? So I thought this was going to happen, and I thought by hiring this great person, it would end all my problems, but it ended up putting my team in jeopardy because we didn't have as much cash flow, and this is how it unfolded, that this plan was completely like a failure, right? And you can see, try to make up stories to see what could go wrong. The problem with that is that you need to try to have multiple points of view, because if it's just you, sometimes you're not going to see much further than what you know. Even though this exercise can get you more answers, trying to seek knowledge first, right? On how, this is why stories of how Amazon was built, the story of big mistakes that people made in big companies, why this company completely lost all their market share, how this company completely made a big mistake. This is why it's useful to have fuel your mind with these stories, so that when you are trying to do this creative work of trying to see what could go wrong, you have a lot of ideas. The suppression of doubt contributes to overconfidence in a group where only supporters of the decision have a voice. So you're a supporter of your decision. So, the suppression of doubt is just like what you want to do. You don't want doubt because you want to have massive certainty and take massive actions. Right before you execute on the plan, it's good to mitigate that. Okay, what could go wrong still, and try to prevent those things from happening, and then have massive confidence. The main virtue of the premortem, this is what the exercise is called, is that it legitimizes doubts. I don't know what is going on with my English today. Anyway, so this is speaking of optimism. They have an illusion of control. They seriously underestimate the obstacles. They seem to suffer from an acute case of competitor neglect. This is a case of overconfidence. They seem to believe they know more than they actually do know. We should conduct a pre-mortem session. Someone may come up with a threat that we have neglected. If you found this useful, by the way, just don't forget to subscribe and like and share it with someone you think it might help. By the way, it's not done. I'm going to give you some other tips that I learned this week, because basically what I do on this podcast also is that I kind of journal. I find myself hesitating to give you value on this show and at the same time documenting just what I did, because I selfishly want to just know what I did, but I try to have a mix of what I did and what is useful to you. So this, I think, should be useful to you. This week I did a 24-hour fast of water and food. No water, no food for 24 hours. And it was pretty hard, especially not drinking. Not drinking water was this was hard. And the results were that I had more clarity. I was my focus was much higher with clarity of thoughts. I was not distracted, and I had more time to work instead of eating. And I also read more intensely. And what I read during this 24-hour fast was the Bible. And I encourage you, even if you're not religious, to really read this book. And if you're an entrepreneur, especially read the Old Testament about King David and his son King Solomon, because their story is going to help you see perspectives on, at least it made me see some perspectives on how you could build an empire. Literally, this is, you could see how they planned to build an immense what do you call that? I don't know, an immense house, just big mansion for God. And they used so many resources. They planned, there's these many men are going to be in construction, these many men are going to be leading, and you can see all these parallels of how can you lead better and run better your business. And another thing that was even more useful to me was the Beatitudes of Saint Matthew. This, the teachings of Jesus Christ in this section are insanely. And I was not able to see how useful they were because I had read this passage before. But once I was in this fast, I saw more clearly. I felt that, oh my God, this is so useful. How can I was almost I was blind, and now I see, right? I had this clarity with this fast. I had not eaten, I think when I read it, I had not eaten for 22 hours or so. And I read that, and I was like, my God. Literally. This is so useful. It tells you about how you should not, basically some rules and principles to live a great life and also succeed. he tells you he tells you how to get to heaven. And this, I think, could also help you build a great business. So I would encourage you, even if you're not religious, and if you are particularly if you are a Christian, go read it. What are you waiting for? And so this was very useful to me, and I made some decisions basically. On this 24 hours fast, I reshaped kind of my life, right? I have some routines in my life that I just run every week. I do the same things basically. And I reread the 10 Commandments that God gave to Moses. And Jesus Christ in the Beatitudes of Saint Matthew says, I'm not here to just abolish the law. Like the law, you need to respect it still. I'm, of course, not citing, I'm paraphrasing, of course. And so I went on and read the law, and it says, God worked for 6 days, and then he rested. If he could do all those amazing things, build the earth and everything, in 6 days, and then he had to rest on 7, what makes you think you should work 7 days a week? I was like, okay, this makes sense. I think I could, even just comprising this time frame, I think I'm going to get more done in 6 days than I used to in 7, because it just allows you to, I don't know, it made me believe that I can get so much more done in my week by taking all of what I do on Sunday, all the planning and preparation and this show that I do on Sunday, comprise it in the 5 to 6 days. It expands your mind, it expands the possibilities, and it made me work in more urgency. And this is great because if you do things fast, it's going to give you this momentum and this energy, and you're just more excited, and you have this little challenge that, okay, I'm going to get it done before Sunday. I need to get all this done before Sunday because Sunday is a rest day, and Sunday I can relax. It's my day, I can do whatever I want, right? You could tell yourself this if you're not religious. Personally, I will let this day for God, and I'm going to read more about God, to learn more, and to even succeed better, and live a better life and make the world better. I also had another lesson, which was that I should not watch a show anymore, because I was watching a show and I realized a show is not you need to finish all the episodes of the show to close the loop on that show, because once you read about or see once you see one episode of a show, the story is not done. So there's in your mind this loop that is not closed. It's just still functioning in your mind. And I found myself constantly being distracted by this show, having this show in my mind. Oh, what's going to happen with this guy? Oh, this is going to be he's going to be doing this. Oh, there's this problem in this show, and I'm going to basically work in my mind on this show, because it's not done. There's something that is not done. It's not finished. The story is not finished, so I need to complete it in my mind. There's this curiosity as well. At the end of each show, they hook you to watch another. And the reason why I started watching movies and TV shows in the first place is because I wanted to relax. I wanted to just take my mind off the stress of the business and just be able to relax and think about something else, and have this little positivity in this kind of world where everything's going fine, right? And this positivity, and in this show that I watch, there was a lot of negativity sometimes, right? Sometimes it was great, sometimes it was very negative, this very hateful energy. And those moments I just honestly I just passed them. I put the 1.5x speed. I passed them because I'm not watching this show to have more drama in my life. I have enough drama in my life. I have enough problems, enough stress, enough things to worry about. I don't need more things to worry about. I'm watching the show just to relax and just not think about be positive, right? And so from now on, I'm going to watch movies. Even though like movies are not gonna be like all necessarily positive, there's like some moments of stress and everything. It's cool, but like it needs to put myself in an environment where I relax and I just completely let go of the daily problems. This is the goal. This was the goal. And the movie is great because it's done at the end, and so you don't have this constant like you don't have it in your mind, like constantly working on what's going to happen. You don't have this curiosity about what's going to happen next. It's done. You're done with the movie. And so this is why I'm going to watch movies instead of TV shows. I'm going to watch way less because I've been watching this TV show for like every day for like almost 2-3 hours. Like every time I eat, with every meal, I would just basically watch a part or an entire episode. And so right now I'm going to just stop that, enter a season of complete focus, and if I needed to, on Saturdays, I'm going to allow myself to watch a movie at the end of the day with dinner. So I don't waste time, right? Sometimes like I feel like it's not okay for me to just watch a movie. Like if I just watch a movie, it's just like a complete waste of time. If I watch it while I'm eating, I'm eating at the same time. So it's it's not that big of a deal, right? I'm kind of optimizing my problem. I have some productivity issue. Anyway, if you like the show, like, subscribe, share it with a friend if you find it useful. Make better decisions. Prevent yourself from like having the planning fallacy. Try to plan well. Reduce your costs because it could be costly to you if you don't plan it. With the outside view, take care. Subscribe and watch the next show. Bye.